The father they forgot. Three successful brothers had everything money could buy, but when their old father came to visit, only one of them opened the door. In a small town near the mountains, there lived a carpenter named Samuel Parker. He was not rich. He did not own a large house. He never traveled the world, but he had something more important. He had three sons whom he loved more than anything else. For more than 30 years, Samuel worked with his hands. Every table he built, every chair he repaired, every door he painted. He did it for one reason: to give his children a better future. His oldest son, Daniel, dreamed of becoming a businessman. His second son, Michael, wanted to become a famous lawyer. And the youngest, Ethan, simply loved books. Samuel believed in their dreams. Even when money was scarce, he paid for their education. Sometimes he skipped meals. Sometimes he worked late into the night, but he never complained. Years passed. The boys became men, and their dreams came true. Daniel built a successful company. Michael became one of the most respected lawyers in the city. And Ethan opened a small public library where children could read for free. Samuel was proud of all three sons. Every time someone praised them, his eyes filled with happiness. He believed his sacrifices had been worth it. Then everything changed. One winter, Samuel's wife passed away. For the first time in his life, the old carpenter felt completely alone. The house felt silent, the days felt longer, and the nights felt colder. Samuel missed his family. More than anything, he wanted to see his sons. One morning, he packed a small bag. He locked the front door and began a journey that would change everything. After 2 days of traveling, Samuel arrived in the city where Daniel lived. The city was bigger than anything he had ever seen. Tall buildings touched the clouds. Luxury cars filled the streets, and everywhere he looked, people seemed to be in a hurry. Daniel was now the owner of a large technology company. Thousands of people worked for him. His name appeared in magazines and business newspapers. People called him a success story. When Samuel arrived at the company headquarters, he smiled proudly. "This is my son's building," he whispered. A receptionist stopped him at the entrance. "Can I help you, sir?" Samuel smiled. "Yes, I'm Daniel's father." The receptionist looked surprised. She called Daniel's assistant. A few minutes later, the message reached Daniel's office. Daniel walked to the window. Far below, he saw his father standing alone. The old coat, the worn shoes, the gray hair. For a moment, memories flooded his mind. He remembered the nights his father worked late. He remembered the sacrifices. He remembered everything. But then another thought entered his mind. Important investors were visiting that day. Reporters were waiting downstairs. Daniel worried about what people might think. After a long silence, Daniel spoke. "Tell him I'm not here." The assistant hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" Daniel nodded. A few minutes later, the receptionist returned. "I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Parker isn't available today." Samuel understood immediately. For a moment, pain filled his eyes, but he smiled politely. "Thank you," he said. Then he turned and walked away. As he disappeared into the crowd, Daniel watched from the window. Something inside him felt wrong, but he ignored it. The next morning, Samuel continued his journey. His next destination was the capital city. That was where Michael lived. Michael had become one of the most famous lawyers in the country. Television channels invited him to interviews. Politicians sought his advice. His reputation was everything. When Samuel arrived, he found Michael speaking at a public event. Hundreds of people filled the room. Samuel waited patiently until the event ended. Then he approached one of the assistants. "I'm Michael's father," he said. The assistant immediately informed Michael. From across the room, Michael saw his father, and unlike Daniel, he recognized him instantly. But Michael was surrounded by reporters, cameras, and important guests. He worried that people would see his humble father and judge him. Instead of walking toward his father, he turned away. "Please tell him I'm busy." When Samuel heard the answer, he felt a deeper sadness than before. Yet he said nothing. He simply thanked the assistant and walked away. For the third time, Samuel packed his small bag and continued his journey. His feet hurt. His back ached. And yet, he kept walking. There was still one son he had not seen. Unlike his brothers, Ethan had never cared much about money. He lived in a quiet town beside a river. His small library stood in the center of the community. The library was not famous, it was not luxurious, but every afternoon, children filled the building with laughter and curiosity. When Samuel arrived, he stopped across the street and looked at the building. A smile appeared on his face. For the first time in weeks, he felt hopeful. Inside, Ethan was reading a story to a group of children. One of the children looked through the window, then pointed toward the street. Ethan turned his head. For a moment, he froze. He recognized his father immediately. Without saying a word, Ethan dropped the book and ran outside. "Father," his voice echoed through the street. People stopped walking. Children looked up. Everyone watched. Samuel barely had time to react before Ethan wrapped his arms around him. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan smiled. The children are going to love meeting their grandfather. That evening, Ethan prepared Samuel's favorite meal. The two sat together for hours. They talked about old memories, about family, about life. For the first time since his wife's death, Samuel felt at peace. He no longer felt alone. A few days later, Samuel made an unusual request. "Ethan, I would like to see your brothers." Ethan nodded. Within days, invitations were sent to Daniel and Michael. Neither knew why their father wanted to meet. A week later, all three brothers sat together in Ethan's modest home. The room was simple. No expensive furniture. No luxury decorations. Yet somehow, it felt warmer than any place they have visited before. For several minutes, nobody spoke. The silence felt heavy. Daniel stared at the floor. Michael avoided his father's eyes. Finally, Samuel broke the silence. "When your mother and I were young, we had very little. We worked hard so that each of you could have opportunities we never had. I never wanted you to become rich." The brothers looked surprised. "I wanted you to become good men." The room became completely silent. Those words hit harder than any criticism. Then Samuel turned to Daniel. "When I came to see you, I wasn't looking for money." He turned toward Michael. "And I wasn't looking for influence." Finally, he looked at Ethan. "I was only looking for a place in your hearts." Daniel felt ashamed. Michael felt ashamed. For the first time, they understood what they had lost. Daniel stood up first. Slowly, he walked toward his father. "I'm sorry, Dad." A moment later, Michael joined him. Tears filled his eyes. That evening, the four